Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's Talk Corrections. I am your host, Carrie Ann Davis. If this is your first time, welcome aboard. And if you're returning, Wagwan, welcome back. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for sharing more with me. And as we go through this time together, I will continue the discussion on grief and loss. In the last video though, I spoke about dealing with the complications of grief. For this video, let's look at some common myths of grief. But before I do that, let's take a trek back into history so we can do our recap. The last time I told you what the stages of grief are according to Kubler-Ross, and let us quickly recap. So stage number 1 is denial. This is where the person says, oh no, this just not happening. Stage 2 is anger. People say, oh God, could I really sit down up at heaven and make this happen to me? And then you have stage 3, which is bargaining. If I had done this, if I had done that, what if I had done that, then the person would not have died. So the what if and the if only statements come alive. Then there is stage 4, that's depression. How can I go on without this person? And final stage is acceptance. According to Kubler-Ross, the stages of grief were never meant, though, to help tuck messy emotions into neat little packages. They are responses to loss that many people have. But there is not a typical response to loss, as there is no typical loss. Our grieving is as individual as our lives. That's what Kubler-Ross had to say. And Kubler-Ross was a psychiatrist who she worked with the terminally ill persons, and over time she developed the stages of loss. That's just a little recap. So let's go into my little top 10 myths about grief. 1. People say ignore the pain and it will disappear. That is not true. In fact, ignoring the pain may mean you will have to deal with the pain a little longer. Myth number 2, be strong in the face of loss. You're not Christian, you're not counselor, you're not police, you're not psychiatrist, you're not this, you're not that. People expect you to be strong in the face of a loss, but we are all human beings, fallible human beings, and we will suffer loss at some point in our lives, and therefore we'll go through the emotions and so on that come along with grieving. Number 3, some people think that if you don't cry, it means you're not feeling the pain as deeply or severe as other persons who are weeping and wailing. But the emotion can be just as strong, just as real, especially men. Men may not necessarily cry, but it doesn't mean they're not feeling all that agony and the darkness surrounding the loss of the person. So 4, people will tell you that, okay, you are to grieve for 1 year and after 1 year it becomes abnormal. That's not true. Different people grieve differently, and so it takes time, and the time varies for different people, right? Also, it is said that if you are accepting the loss, it means that you are forgetting the person who died. That is not true. Acceptance doesn't mean you're forgetting the person. Acceptance means you have come to a place where you know that yes, the person has passed and life must go on, but you will still remember the loss and you will still miss the person and so on. 6, you have to go through the stages of grief in order to heal. That's not true. Some people heal without even going through any of the stages of grief, reportedly. And 7, some people think that you may have to go through the stages of grief, the 5 stages of grief, in a chronological order or in a sequential manner. That's not true. Some people may just hear about the loss of an individual and they could go straight to accepting the loss. They could go to anger. They could be depressed about it. There's nothing that says you have to go through any particular order. Number 8, the ultimate goal of grief is to move on. Some people may say it is difficult to have somebody that you love ripped apart from you and life just continue and you totally forget that the person even existed. That's not gonna happen. So the goal of grieving is not to move on, but is to be able to live some sort of normal life, accepting the person has passed and so on. Number 9, the ultimate goal is to carry on. No, there's no rush. There's nothing that says, yes, life will go on, but you will learn how to deal with it. It's like having a scar on your hand. You will always remember how you get it, but that scar is always going to be there to remind you of what happened. But you would have now come to a place where you accept it and would have learned how to deal with living with it. Right? And number 10, young children do not feel the pangs of grief. A lot of times when families suffer loss, the death of a loved one and so on, we tend to not pay attention to children, but they too feel the loss and go through the agony and so on. What then is the fix? Let's talk corrections. Fix number 1, stop talking. There's great power in silence when we go to visit somebody who is grieving. Fix number 2, take the person out, give them a vacation, send them on a nice dinner, do something wonderful for them. 3, be present and have a beautiful presence. Don't go visit the person and keep talking about your own issues and how life is challenging and so on. Focus on the person who is grieving. 4, don't trivialize the issue. Some people will say, look from when him dead. At time if you get married, man, look how you look good and so on. That's not something you want to say. That may cause unhealthy reaction in the person who you're trying to comfort. So let's look at men. How do we provide support for men? Companionship and support, usually those two things, you can't give enough of them. For men, and that is if they love hands-on projects, you could do a project in honor of the person who has passed. Could plant a tree, build if it's a church community, do a community project in honor of the person or so on. Also, wives, spouses, please minister to your own husband. You understand quite well what I'm talking about. That is important. Don't run no joke with that. And next point, create what I call a nagging timeout. Give the man space. Don't be complaining about things and so on. Be supportive and loving. Right? How to help children grieve? Don't volunteer too much information, but answer whatever they're asking you correctly. Avoid euphemisms such as, oh, she has fallen asleep, when you know the person has passed, has died. Tell the child the truth, because when they go to sleep, they may become anxious and so on, fearful that they might pass as well. Do not force the child to go to a funeral, etc. But if they want to go, prepare them, for example, of the person lying down in the casket and that people will be crying and that it's really just so sad and comes with a lot of emotion. Prepare them for that. Also, you can do simple things like planting a tree in honor of the person who has passed and allow the child to participate as well. Also, you can tell the child that the memories that they have of the person will live on in their heart. And it's okay to be sad and to cry around the child. Allow the child to see those emotions so that they can express their own emotions as well. But manage violent and aggressive outbursts. So it's important to stick to routine as well for children. Don't send them away to grandma's house, other people's house. Let them stay in their regular routine. Never rule out counseling for your child. The Bible says in Philippians 4, verse 13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So let's make it our duty to care for others in this unprecedented season. You know, until next time, let's talk corrections. Peace be with you. Peace. I am out.